All right, fun little exercise they did in The Athletic where all the beat writers of Myles Garrett-needy teams put together trade proposals to get Myles Garrett, Defensive Player of the Year, caliber player, edge rusher from the Cleveland Browns. And, these writers said, okay, this would make sense for the team I cover. And then they proposed him, and the Browns beat writer can accept one, or I guess he can reject them all. He writes, Chicago offers tempting because the Browns could immediately show their fans and ownership group a rebuild that includes 4 of the first 41 picks this year, plus a first-rounder next year. That offer is simply a lot better than many of the others. So, again, that's Chicago's pick at 10, their second-round pick, and their first-rounder next year. That would give them 4 of the first 41 picks this year and 2 first-rounders next year. Yeah, that would be attractive, and you like that trade from a Browns perspective. Regarding the Detroit trade, the Hooker addition makes Detroit's deal intriguing, but a backup quarterback isn't going to be enough here. New England could probably have added Joe Milton and another player to get into the bidding. New England had a proposal that wasn't a finalist. Buffalo, and Detroit's offer was a first and a third this year and a first next year and Hendon Hooker for Garrett and a fourth next year. Buffalo, this was my favorite proposal if I were Cleveland. I think. A first this year, a second this year, a fourth this year, a first next year, defensive end A.J. Epinesa, and cornerback Kaiir Elam. For Garrett, a third this year and a sixth next year. Nice offer by Buffalo, including Rousseau. Forget about the Amari Cooper swap and call us back tomorrow. For the Chargers deal, if you missed the Chargers deal earlier...
The problem I have with that Buffalo deal, for Cleveland's sake, is that those draft picks, the first-round picks, it's great to get multiple first-round picks, but it'd be the same thing the Lions are going to give you. It's a late first-round pick. It's really hard to get jazzed about that. But they did throw in players.
Yep.
But it's just not as enticing as other teams that draft higher.
So, yeah, I like the players. And that's why I do it. I like having some known commodities along with the draft picks, which are the unknown commodities. But next up, the Chargers deal, which was a first and a third this year, and Joey Bosa. He writes, as for the Chargers, I can't see the Browns being in the Joey Bosa business right now. Then he writes, I think Washington's offer is the best, given that Cleveland also needs youth across the offensive line. Washington would be betting that a 2026 first-rounder would again be a late pick, but I think the Browns certainly would want a 2026 first-round selection. The Commanders might get it done if they'd also throw in a late 2026 pick and take cornerback Greg Newsome II and his fully guaranteed $13 million 2025 fifth-year option off the Browns' hands. So he likes the Washington offer the most. What this exercise does, as mentioned, is it implies that we can sit here and put together deals that we think make sense. What only thing that gets this done is being the best offer that they get.
Mm-hmm.
And so if somebody else is willing to go further, you're either A, out, or B, have to add. The Detroit picks of 2 firsts, a third, and Hendon Hooker are such a 1,000% yes for me from a Detroit perspective. I can't imagine that would be the best offer that they would get. I would have to think, if we're doing radio in Cleveland, I'd be like, this is the best offer, huh?
And this is a sort of unknown factor in this with that offer for Cleveland. Detroit is the only team that we've mentioned there that's offering up a quarterback. Now, Hendon Hooker hasn't really played much, as we know, but he does have a huge upside. The player he was in college prior to getting hurt was going to win the Heisman Trophy until he got hurt. He was awfully good. He's played very sparingly in his first couple of years in the league because of recovering from that injury, and then this year just because, fortunately, knocking on wood, that Jared Goff has been healthy for the Lions, that you don't need to use a backup quarterback. But it's an unknown commodity because you haven't seen him. You don't really know what he is. It's just a thought of how high his ceiling is. And if you're Cleveland, you need a quarterback. You're stuck right now for at least another year with a horrible situation at quarterback. And your
Watson's contract, which is, I think, a $72 million cap hit each of the next 2 years.
Now, you could draft one with the second overall pick that you have, but, I mean, I'm not in love with Cam Ward. I'm not in love with Shedeur Sanders, and I'm not in love with Jackson Dart. I think they're all good quarterbacks, but none of them scream to me like, oh, this guy is can't miss. And not that Hendon Hooker does either. But what Hendon Hooker would offer you, if I'm trying to sweeten this for Detroit's side, what he offers Cleveland is that, okay, he's completely healthy now. He's got a couple years under his belt of sitting on the sidelines, watching a team work with, and it's a team that has the best offense in football, that you might feel better about that. And I don't have to use a second pick overall on a quarterback. I can use that on either Abdul Carter, if he's there, to replace Myles Garrett, or I go out and take, Travis Hunter, who's a two-way player, could be a great receiver or the best cover corner in college football here. I can use one of those and really kind of set myself forward.
Yeah, to me, personally, if I'm in Cleveland's shoes, Hendon Hooker to me is not a commodity. He's a throw-in. He's not a player that I would have much of I'd be like, at the end, I'd be like, also, see if you can get Hendon Hooker. I wouldn't be building have him as a real piece I was getting back.
Well, this is also the unknown. You don't know what another organization thinks. You don't know how highly they regarded that player. They may say the same thing you're saying, or they may be more on where I'm at, where I think he still has huge upside, but he's getting blocked here in Detroit because Detroit's got a great quarterback.
Yeah, I look at a player who's 27 years old and has barely played, and I'm not sure that I can even – I would have to have loved him out of college, but even then, to have him sitting on the bench with very little evidence of what he can do in the NFL, personally, I wouldn't have that much interest other than throw him in at the end kind of deal. Is he intriguing? Yeah. But given what they're going to want to do, I think they're going to draft a quarterback this year or next year. I think they're going to be like the Lions were when they traded for the 2 picks for Matthew Stafford. Is originally the thought was we're going to get a quarterback with one of these 2 picks. I think the likelihood of Hendon Hooker being able to answer the bell at quarterback the way Jared Goff did are very, very slim, but maybe they love him, right? So the funny thing is, as I looked at the feedback that came in, there was a lot of you've got to get Myles Garrett. If he's available, you have to get him. And I would say if he's available, you have to call. I would go that far. I wouldn't say if he's available, you have to get him. I want to take you back into the Wayback Machine to the trade deadline this year.
No, the Wayback Machine.
Yes. So we're going to go all the way back like two and a half months here. Do you remember the Mike Tannenbaum trade proposal?
I do.
For Myles Garrett? Mike Tannenbaum suggested...
I don't even want you to repeat it because it's uncomfortable.
Mike Tannenbaum suggested that Detroit, to get Myles Garrett, give up a 2025 first, a 2026 first, a 2027 first,
and
Jahmyr Gibbs for Myles Garrett. Can we all agree it's okay to walk away? It's okay to walk away. You're allowed to walk away. And I think we'd all have different sliding scale as to when you would walk away. But yeah, there's plenty of examples of walk away trade proposals. And that's why I could never say some of the feedback we saw yesterday. I mean, there were some people fully committed to making this happen, no matter what the cost. And I'm in the, it's okay to say no. Because I go back to something we said yesterday. They went 15-2 with half a defense. In theory, they're going to be getting all those guys back. Others will get hurt. They probably are going to have more luck next year with injuries. They already went 15-2, were the 1 seed and a strong Super Bowl contender without Myles Garrett. They will be better just by standing pat. They'll be better, let alone what they could do with a little bit of cap space and their draft capital. Which is why, again, I don't know that if I'm Detroit. I call, I ask, but if some of these offers come in, this becomes that make you have to really, really dig deep, I'm okay with walking away.